The San Antonio Spurs have just beaten the Minnesota Timberwolves in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. And what a victory this is for San Antonio Spurs. For such a young group, they look so complete, they look so mature, and to be honest with you, they absolutely dominated the Minnesota Timberwolves, and now they're going to be facing the defending champions in the OKC Thunder, and the most intriguing and exciting playoff matchup is going to happen. What a series this is going to be for every single NBA fan. And the scary thing about this series from the San Antonio Spurs is that it looked extremely comfortable. I know that the series finished off 4-2 to the San Antonio Spurs, but we need to add context. In game 1, the Minnesota Timberwolves won, but the San Antonio Spurs really threw that game away, and they lost that game due to lack of experience and immaturity. Another game that they lost was due to the fact that Wemby got ejected, and I'll talk about this later. But for the games that the San Antonio Spurs won, a lot of them weren't close and they were blowouts. So even though it was a 4-2 series, it was actually quite a comfortable series for the San Antonio Spurs. And that shows how incredible they are as a team, because beating the Minnesota Timberwolves like this is extremely difficult in the playoffs. The only other teams that I saw deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves like this were the OKC Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks, and both of those teams were finals teams. So this San Antonio Spurs team, they are incredible. They definitely have the ability to make it to the finals. And there were many factors of why the Minnesota Timberwolves won this series. However, the main guy was Victor Wembanyama. Defensively, this guy was an absolute juggernaut this series. The Minnesota Timberwolves didn't even want to get into the paint. The amount of late, tough, contested shots that the Minnesota Timberwolves were taking was crazy. Their shot quality throughout this entire series was extremely poor. And all the Minnesota Timberwolves players said in their post-game interviews after the series, Wembanyama completely changes the game defensively. And it must have been a shell shock for them, because the previous series they played against Denver, who practically had no paint defense, and they were able to get to the paint with ease. However, this series was the complete opposite, and it was all because of Victor Wembanyama. And I can comfortably say he is the greatest defender in NBA history. No defender that I've seen with my eyes has had this type of impact on the defensive end, and this guy is a complete game changer, man. But there's so much more to this Minnesota Timberwolves team than just Victor Wembanyama, and where better to start than the three guards that they have: Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle. All three of these guys can get downhill at ease. Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper are excellent defensively. De'Aaron Fox is an incredible tough shot maker, especially when he gets to that mid-range. He's quick as anybody I've seen in the NBA, and these three guards just pose a complete problem, because if you can get downhill in the NBA, you can create advantages for your team, and it puts your team in a better position to win. And all three of these guys can do that at the highest level, and their ability to make decisions in the pick and roll is very effective. They're very good at that. They don't turn the ball over too much. They're all competent playmakers, and these three guys are just complete guards, man. And the only deficiencies within their games are that 3-point shooting, but Stephon Castle, he's been shooting over 40% in the playoffs. Dylan Harper, his 3-point shots got a lot better. De'Aaron Fox, he's shown that he can be a competent 3-point shooter. All three of these guys are complete guards, and they pose so many problems to opposition teams, because if I use this Minnesota Timberwolves series for example, right? The Minnesota Timberwolves, they wanted to play small, because if you play Rudy Gobert in this series, he's going to be in the dunker's position. That means that Victor Wembanyama is also going to be in the paint, and as a result of this, driving lanes are going to be shut off for the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? So if you're going to play small, the Minnesota Timberwolves are also going to be at a disadvantage, because they lose that rim protector. And now the guards can eat, right? Now you don't have no Rudy Gobert on the court. Now Dylan Harper can get downhill. Now Stephon Castle can get downhill. Now De'Aaron Fox can get downhill. So even if you make adjustments, there are still going to be ways that the San Antonio Spurs are going to hurt you. And this is what makes their team so special. They're not a one-dimensional team. They can hurt you in many different ways. However, this team does not only consist of Victor Wembanyama, Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle. They're a lot deeper than that. First of all, I want to start with Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. Both of these guys have been at the organization since the very start of their careers. They've seen the organization at the rock bottom, and they've seen the development and growth of the San Antonio Spurs into contenders. And I have to give both of these guys credit because, first of all, Keldon Johnson. This guy was a 22-point per game scorer in the NBA, putting up all-star type of numbers. However, now he's embraced that six-man role. And that's one thing I really respect about him. He knows he can do a lot more than what he's offering right now, but he's embracing this role for the betterment of the team. And you just have to tip your hat to that. And off the bench, he's been incredible. Obviously, won the Six-Man of the Year award. But this guy, he offensively rebounds the ball, provides the San Antonio Spurs a lot of energy, kills teams in transition, can drive to the rim, just a jack of all trades off the bench. And Devin Vassell, he is a big shot maker for the San Antonio Spurs. Especially when the other team goes on a run, Devin Vassell will make a big shot to cut that run off. I mean, that's the type of player he is, and every single championship team needs a guy who can cut off the other team's momentum, and that's exactly what Devin Vassell does. And on top of that, he provides you transition threes as well, which is one of the highest quality shots in basketball. And talking about transition threes, we have to talk about Julian Champagnie because this guy is a sniper. He offers the San Antonio Spurs elite spacing. Once again, he will shoot transition threes as well. Great catch and shoot three-point shooter, and he knows what his role is. And then on top of that, you look at guys like Harrison Barnes, a veteran in the NBA, a champion with Golden State Warriors, has been to every single possible situation in the NBA, and what he's been doing for the San Antonio Spurs as a vet, guiding the young guys, has been nothing short of incredible. And once again, he's a really good three-point shooter, can defend really well, provides length and size, especially in that wing position. And then finally, we have to talk about none other than Luke Cornett. Especially when Victor Wembanyama has been hurt or when he's out of the game, Luke Cornett provides you very solid minutes because he's just a big man with a high motor. He can set great screens, offensively rebounds the ball, plays with a lot of energy, a lot of heart, and defensively he plays really well as well. So this San Antonio team, they're complete, they're deep, and most importantly, every single player on the team knows what their role is. They enjoy doing their role and they execute it to absolute perfection. And to be a championship caliber team, this is exactly what you need to do. So the San Antonio Spurs, they're playing with great momentum right now. It's going to be a very, very good matchup with the OKC Thunder, but the OKC Thunder, they're undefeated in the playoffs too. So yeah, it's going to be a very difficult challenge for the San Antonio Spurs to overcome, but the Spurs have beaten the OKC Thunder 4 times in the regular season, so they're more than capable of beating the OKC Thunder, but only time will tell. And to finish off the video, I want to talk about one of the most controversial moments in this Minnesota Timberwolves versus San Antonio Spurs series. In Game 4 of this series, Victor Wembanyama elbowed Naz Reid after catching the ball, and he did it intentionally, and he put a lot of force behind it as well. It was a very dangerous play. Do I think Victor Wembanyama deserved some sort of punishment for it on top of the ejection? Yes. Do I think he deserved to be banned from the next game? No, because this is the NBA playoffs. Physicality will be at an all-time high. This is what the old heads wanted, right? The amount of crazy fouls they used to commit in the 80s, 90s in the playoffs, they used to brush over them. And now that Victor Wembanyama did it in the modern era, people are going to, throw in reaction at it, and rightly so, because it was a dangerous play. But it's the playoffs at the end of the day, and we want to see all the best players compete at the highest level. In my opinion, Victor Wembanyama still should have received a fine. He should have at least received a fine because it was a dangerous play. But this also shows me that Victor Wembanyama has a nasty side to him. He has that killer side to him. That's one thing it showed me, and that's a good sign if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan, because a lot of big men who have the skill set of Wembanyama, there's not too many of them, but they can play soft at times. They don't really have that aggressive side to them. And Victor Wembanyama, from this play, has shown that he's got an aggressive and nasty side to him. And sometimes you need that to be a winner. And talking about the killer instinct of Victor Wembanyama, I know Victor Wembanyama's competitive side is going to come out against Chet Holmgren. We've seen this for the last couple of years. Every single time Victor Wembanyama matches against Chet Holmgren, he's always aggressive and he's always going at Chet. Obviously, these two guys have history with one another, and both of those guys have very similar skill sets. They're both generational defenders. They've got skill set of guards. They can shoot on the perimeter. They can dominate on the inside. They're very complete bigs. They represent the new era of bigs, and this is going to be a very intriguing matchup. With that being said, we're at the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and let me know who you think is going to win in the matchup between the San Antonio Spurs and the OKC Thunder.